All right, dude, let's kick this off. This is the first episode of Whatta, hosted by me, Matthew Allen. So, podcasting, right? Why do this? Well, if the title didn't tell you enough, dude, I've got so many thoughts. I have so many thoughts, and I'm going to deliver them in probably the worst comedical way that you could hear anyone talk about anything, which I think is the best way for someone to talk about things because who wants to hear it seriously? Unless it's a funeral. You should say things seriously there. But wow, what a terrible statement to say not even a minute in. Yeah, if you're at a funeral, you maybe shouldn't make jokes. Dude, if you want to make jokes at a funeral, go ahead. Just make sure they're tasteful. Okay, I understand it is a sad time. People are grieving, but sometimes you want to alleviate that tension. So you know what? If you have a nice joke that people will like, go for it, dude. Go right for it. There's nothing wrong with that. Wow, what a way to start off this first episode. Dude, that's wonderful. Um, no, but I do have a few things I want to talk about, at least this week. That's right. This week, I'm hoping to do more. But this week I went on like a tangent with a friend, and that was kind of the inspiration because I'd apparently been having a lot of hot takes. But I can't call this hot takes because that's a terrible name. There's no thought behind it. Ah, look at that, we're back to the puns. Yeah. So we were talking, and I was bringing up the idea of like how much flack people get for wanting to just take a year off after finishing high school and before going into college. I went right into college after high school because I hate school. That is not anything new for anyone that knows me. I hate school. And it is that fury that drives me to finish it faster than God. Wow. Whew, this is a very divisive podcast already. But no, people get so much flack for the idea of wanting to take a year off after they finish high school. And I think that that's ridiculous. I don't think that people should be getting so much hate for wanting a break. Right? And there's always the detractors out there that are like, "Oh, you guys have summers. You get your break from school." And it's like, "No, not really. Not really." I've seen so many like new things crop up, people with like not just summer reading, but they'll have like, here's some work to do over the summer to get you ready for the next grade. Like the time that they've been given to like exist as people has just diminished so much, and I think that it's a tad ridiculous. And just look at the numbers, like you we look at this 4-year-old who's just shit their pants, and we say, "Hey, I'm going to throw you in school for the next 14 years, and you don't get a say in it. And if you try to get out of it before the 14 years is up, the law will come in and force you to go." What? Like, dude, there's nothing we can do against that one. Not unless we just reform the entire United States, which won't happen. But so it's understandable, wanting to take a year off. So why do people get so heated about it? They're like, "Oh, you're just lazy. Oh, it's clearly you're a bad worker." Like, dude, what? No. I just spent 14 years of my developmental life sitting and taking notes and doing tests and hating school. Of course I would like to take a break. Like, look at that. Like, for most people, like, you start school at 4. You school for 14 years. I know someone's like, "Oh, shouldn't it be 13? No. I think everyone goes to pre-K now, so it's 14. You go to school for 14 years. And then immediately you're been the moment you become an adult, while you're still finishing up year 14, someone looks at you and says, "Hey, I want you to pay thousands of dollars and go schooling for 4 more years." That is 18 years. That is an adult. That is 18 years of your life dedicated to sitting and learning and schooling. And you want to give people flack for wanting to take a year to just, I don't know, live a little. Like, we tout. It's just so wild. It's so wild to me. Like, it's so ridiculous. And then there's always people that are like, well, if they take a year off, who says they're ever going to go to college? It's like, okay. And if someone doesn't want to go to college, they don't have to go. If someone wants to go to college later in life, that's fine, because now they've chosen to go because they want to. But the amount of people and, like, just everywhere that are like, oh, you have to go to college. There's no other choice. This is what you have to do. You're going to do it. Dude, do those people have lives? What was your life like? Because clearly you never had control. Ow. Oh, I just hit my hand on my desk. Yeah, dude, I hope you didn't hear that. Actually, no, I take that back. I hope you did hear that, or else it's going to sound stupid to just have silence and then me go, ow. Dude, that'd be wild. You're just walking down the street, just past someone, and they're like, ow. And you just revolt? Revolt? No, you just not convulsed. What is the word I'm looking for? Nope, couldn't think of it. Blanked out. You just back up. You're just like, oh, hey, dude, you good? They're like, oh, yeah, no, I'm fine. And then they just keep walking. That would live rent-free in my mind for years. Years and years. I would think about that. I'd be like, what happened to that guy? Or that woman? Or that person? You know? I'd be like, hey, why did they say ow? Who hurt them? Are they okay? And I wouldn't have any answers. And I guess that's fine. But dude, what a thought. Wow, look at that. I said the title. Isn't that amazing? Oh my word. This is not going well. No, it is. It is going well. But yeah, like if someone takes the year off, right? And then they think to themselves, wow, I kind of got a job and I was enjoying my life and I kind of want to keep doing this, and they don't want to go to college, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I don't see a need to go pressure someone to be like, you've got to do this. Like, no, dude. College is always going to be there. It's not like college looks at someone who's now 22 instead of 18 and they go, actually, you can't come to school now. Sorry. No, K through 12 does that. And that's fine, because those are children. You don't want children mixing with adults. That's a whole other conversation and sounds way worse than I meant it. But like, I wouldn't want 40-year-old Billy Bob hanging around with 17-year-old Tommy as they take their high school chemistry class. No, that's weird. But college isn't like that. It has never been like that. The people come here to get a higher education, usually in some form of specific thing, you know, something that they want to study, and that's cool. But it should be because they want to. I mean, like, look at doctors. People that go to school to be doctors, which is one of the few ones that I think, yes, you should probably go to school for this. Should you go to school to be an English major? Only if you intend to teach. Should you go to school to learn how to make films? Cough, cough. Probably not. You could do it on your own. You don't need to know the fancy words. But, like, those people, they go to school for, like, sometimes up to, like, 8 years. Sometimes more. 8 years of secondary education. So now that number went from, 14 to 22? Past the legal drinking age? Because this is the comparisons that I have for just prepped in my head. Man, that would be wild. Imagine going right into that. You would have no life. From 4 to 26, you do nothing but school? Oh my gosh, dude, I would feel so bad. I would feel absolutely awful if that was something that I had to do, or like someone else had to do. It would be terrible. Absolutely. Just buck wild. What am I saying? But yeah, no, 22 years of your life dedicated to just learning. And I know there's other ways to learn. You know, there's other things you learn too in that time. Like you learn social skills, you learn other things that aren't social skills, I promise. But just imagine Just imagine being that person. You're 26 years old, and for the first year of your whole life, you're not schooling. And you know why? Because you went off to get a job. That's why. You went off to go be a doctor. And now you're going to spend 30 more years being a doctor and witnessing all of the worst moments of tragedy that any human being could witness without being a homicide detective. Like, that's so stressful. That's its own category of stress, honestly. I couldn't be a doctor. I'd be the worst doctor. I'd be like, "Oh, buddy, what's wrong with your leg there, man? It's not supposed to be facing that way." And then I'd faint. I would faint, and that would be the end. Anyways, back to 22 years. It's 22 years of your life just dedicated to schooling and with no time for anything else in between, depending on what you're doing. Some people get more free time. Some people finish faster. You know, they just say, screw it. And they're like, who needs a life? I'm going to be a doctor, right? And they just do schoolwork for 3 semesters a year if they go to summer school. Because why wouldn't they go to summer school with 8 years worth of classes to do? And they just chug along. And wow. Yeah. No. I am chugging along through the opening of this podcast. What a great 11 minutes. I've been talking for 11 minutes. And I think that that's wild. Because I forgot to write down all of my talking points, so I'm like thinking of them as I speak. And wow, I hope no one came here for a cohesive thought, because you're not going to get it. But yeah, no, dude, you want to take a leap year? That's fine. You take a year off, you decide you want to continue to take the year off, cool, keep doing that. Enjoy yourself, unless you end up homeless, in which case you've enjoyed yourself a little too much. Go do something with your life. Reconnect with your family, apparently. But it's fine, dude. Take the year off, have fun, and just enjoy yourself, you know? There's too many people out there that are, like, so just caught up in the idea that you can't have a life the moment something, like, major comes into your life. You know, I see plenty of people that are like 16, like crying because they can't get a job to pay off the car that, like, insurance that their parents have them paying for because they bought them a car because they turned 16. Like, what? Dude, you're 16. You should be focused on algebra 2 and chemistry, high school chemistry. Like, it's so weird that people, like, are given something and then their whole life has to shift to be like, oh, I've got to pay this off. I have to pay this off. That'd be terrible. I would hate that. That's why I get rides everywhere. I'm joking. I drive myself. And I pay for just about everything I do. And it is a sad, sad time. But, like, dude, just kids should be able to live a life, you know? And it's so weird because I feel like people try to make this divide, right? They try to put this divide between the people that go out and get jobs, like the young and get jobs, and the people their age who don't. Like, what? Sorry, dude. I know that you have to pay off your whole life at 16 and now you work in a Publix or a Starbucks or something. But that doesn't mean you should hate the people that don't have to do that. You, like, circumstances different for everyone. You never know what's going on, and we can't judge. Wow, what a weird way to phrase that. Can you tell that I want to be a comedian? Because it's not good. This is low carb stand-up comedy. That's what a podcast is, and no one can convince me otherwise. Being a podcaster just means you wanted to be a stand-up comedian and had stage fright. I don't have stage fright. I just don't have good jokes. And as you could tell, for the past 15 minutes, I've been laughing at everything I say. even though I'm the one saying it, and that means I shouldn't be laughing at it, and that's okay. Um, dude, what is this podcast? The Met Gala happened. I wish I knew what the Met Gala was. In fact, I'm going to Google it right now. What is the Met Gala all about? Oh, thanks, Google, for autofilling. Uh, Formerly called the Costume Institute Gala. Okay. It's an annual fundraising gala for the benefit of the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute in New York City. Dude, is that what the Met Gala is? No way. It's a costume party fundraiser for celebrities? Oh my gosh, that makes so much more sense. I've always wondered, right, why the people that go to the Met Gala always wear such weird and wild outfits, okay? And it's because it's a fancy costume party for rich people. How sad. This is going to sound really mean. How sad are the lives of rich people that they have to have an event like the Met Gala in order to just dress up and have fun? Man, if I wanted to dress up and have fun, I would throw on I don't know, I'd throw on a toga and I would just run through the streets in sandals, screaming about Caesar. But no, they've made a whole event just so they can go dress up and have fun. And man, that sounds so sad. That sounds so sad. And I know this particular one was getting so much flack because there were like influencers involved, right? There were like influencers invited alongside like the more mainstream celebrities, like actors. That's it. I don't know what constitutes as a mainstream. Why did I say constitutes like that? I don't know what constitutes a mainstream celebrity outside of being an actor. And I don't think anyone, without Googling it, could tell me what constitutes a mainstream celebrity without them being an actor. Oh, I guess a musician. Actors are musicians, but they essentially blur the line anyways. They're one and the same at this point in history. There was a time when they were two separate things, but now they're one, and that's fine. But wow, it's just a glorified costume party. That is the wildest thing I could find. Wildest thing I can find out today. Wow, you had to witness that. I hope you enjoyed it. That was the wildest thing I could find out today. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to look at something like that ever again. Just glorified costume parties. Crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Ow. I hit my hand again. I hope you heard that one. The record thing says that it heard that one, and I think that's fantastic. I'm sitting next to a wooden desk. I'm sitting at a wooden desk. I know words. Dude, I swear I know words. I wouldn't make it almost 20 minutes here if I didn't know words. Alright? I won't show you my degrees in words, okay? You just have to trust me. I know what I'm saying. Dude, what is happening? Yeah, no, I'm gonna not accidentally name drop the podcast for the second or third time in just episode 1, because that's not good. But my next thought from my brain, if it ever leaves, what was it going to be? Oh, I watched Malignant. That movie has not been out long. So if you don't want to hear spoilers for Malignant, go ahead and stop listening. But yeah, no, I watched Malignant. And, dude, let me tell you this. If you've ever seen Basket Case, which is 2 words, I always thought it was 1, but if you've ever seen Basket Case, and you know about Dwayne and Belial, then you know about Madison and Gabriel. I From the moment the movie started, right? The moment it started, I was just kind of like, wow, why does this kind of make me think of just more violent Basket Case? And it's because it was. It was just more violent Basket Case. And let me explain Basket Case to you. This is gonna be a doozy. What a podcast. What a podcast. Hey, you should be okay to take a leap here. And also, let me tell you about Basket Case, a movie from the 80s. So, Basket Case, right? Basket Case is a film. Duh. That was a horribly timed sentence. Basket Case is a film about a boy, a young adult, not a boy, he's not a boy, a young adult named Dwayne, right? And him and his formerly attached, now removed, like Siamese, like deformed Siamese twin brother, essentially, named Belial. Which, man, if you name your kid something like Belial, just say you don't like them. Just say you don't like the kid. Because that's a horrible name. Can you imagine going to school with that name? Oh, hey there, Belial. Can you imagine? I would go by Bill if that was my name. It's like, hey, Bill, what's up? And when someone asked me what Bill stood for, I would run away. Like, hey, what's Bill short for? Oh, it's short for Belial. No. No. You hated your kid, and you made sure that the rest of their life, until they could legally change it, that they hated you too. But Dwayne and Belial, right? The whole plot is that they're going through and murdering, right? They're murdering the doctors responsible for their separation as children. Because the dad was like, this one, he can live on Dwayne, the boy with the regular name, but spelt like he's white. So it's Duane, something like that. You know, like when someone's named Haley, but they've got the IEGH. He can live a normal life. Get rid of the other one. So they removed Belial. And so they're going around and and Dwayne's letting Belial kill the doctors that separated them. This is a very abridged plot. And Dwayne falls in love, and Belial's like, oh no, you can't do that because I can't fall in love because I'm different. You know, because he's a one-armed little lump that exists in a basket and has like a telekinetic connection to Dwayne. Because he doesn't speak aloud. He just kind of screams. He just makes noises, and he's wonderful. And so in response to that, because Dwayne's like, no, I'm gonna have a relationship and it's gonna be good, and I'm gonna have a good life. Belial tries to do something, and that's all I'm gonna say. But he tries to do something and murders that love interest on accident. He doesn't mean to, but he does. He murders her. And it leads to a whole fight between Dwayne and Belial that leads to them both falling out a window and hanging from like a light before they both fall. And it's supposed that they died, but then there were 2 sequels, so like they didn't die. Dude, I'm really explaining the plot to Basket Case to talk about Malignant. But that's Basket Case, okay? That's the abridged version of Basket Case. Malignant, right? So, Madison and Gabriel don't know of each other's existences, right? They find out later that they are sort of kind of the same thing, but essentially Gabriel was he was like a twin that was partially reabsorbed by the stronger, fetus, which was Madison, but he wasn't fully reabsorbed, so he developed like a little bit just on her back. He had his own little face and his own little arms and was just on her back. It just was there. And these doctors, like, they try to, like, go through, like, therapy-esque sessions to garner, like, an understanding for both of them and, like, whatnot. And then they come to the conclusion with the world's most movie line that I've ever heard, which was, what did she say? Oh, time to cut the cancer out or off or something. But she called him a cancer because he was a parasite, is what they found out. Like, he was feeding off of Madison to, like, be strong. So they removed, like, the excess limbs, right, that belonged to Gabriel. And then they couldn't remove, like, his brain, like the portion of the brain that belonged to him, because it was still attached to Madison. So they shove just the remainder of the brain inside Madison's skull. So that's the main difference, right? Is that Malignant, they're one person, but they don't know they're one person. At least Madison doesn't know they're one person. And whereas in Basket Case, they're two separate people. But then stuff happens at the beginning of the movie, and how's it Belial? Gabriel goes and he just murders. And he murders the doctors responsible for their separation as children. Separation, quotation marks there, because they're not separated. He just doesn't have his own limbs anymore. But yeah, and I was just like, dude, these movies are one and the same. For certain. There's no difference, except for the fact that Gabriel and Madison are one person, and they have super strength. Because, like that episode of South Park where Christopher Reeve comes to town, he was just feeding on embryos. Just every child she tried to have. Oh my gosh, this is the worst 10 minutes anyone's ever going to have to listen through. Where are my thoughts at? They're nowhere. They are nowhere. My brain is empty. Because I will talk about everything and anything that comes to my mind, which is how you are getting this garbage. Oh, man. No, it's not garbage. I think it's pretty good. I think it could be worse, is the issue. But yeah, so he goes about doing that, and it's this whole thing, and he, like, takes control of the body from behind, so, like, all the joints are bent the wrong way, and it's real gross. There's a whole thing about how, like, he's putting her in, like, a little mental state so that she doesn't know what's happening, and that's how he always takes control. That's why she always thinks she can see what he's doing at the murders, which is because she's there. Which is wild, dude. What? The amount of planning and, like, willpower to put a whole other, like, human being in a subconscious state so that they can't discern reality from fiction and they think everything's fine while you're going out and murdering people. What? I'd be mortified. I would also be mortified if there was another extra just section of brain with a little face living in the back of my head. No offense if anyone has that. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to offend you. I'm just talking about in the instance of this movie. That would be bad. Because that one was evil. I just wish more people would talk about the Basket Case connection, you know? I don't think enough people are doing that. It's just, they're like, oh my god, have you seen Malignant? Dude, it's such a great movie. Oh man, James Wan, he's so good. No, he's not. No, he's not, dude. And I'm biased because I just hate paranormal movies. I think they suck. I think all movies involving ghosts aren't good because they're the cheapest sort of horror. that anyone can make. And that's the truth. That is the truth. The Paranormal Activity movies? Paranormal Activity? Yeah, no, that was the title. Why did I think it was wrong? The Paranormal Activity movies, dude, they're not good. I watched that first one. I sat through that whole thing. There's not a single scary moment. Because all the scares are based around the idea of things just moving. It's like, ooh, look at that chair. Wow, the Ouija board caught fire? Oh no, Mika's been tossed across the room? That was hilarious. That was the most hilarious moment, was Mika getting tossed across the room. And also, Mika is like the worst protagonist in the world. Because I feel like everyone who just... Don't get me wrong, I was a child when the first Paranormal Activity came out, so I'm looking back on it without the rose-tinted lenses of people that were not children at the time when it came out. But you gotta remember, Mika bought the camera, right? He bought the camera in that movie to make a sex tape. He wanted to make a sex tape with his wife, and he bought the camera. That's why he has a camera. And that is the only reason he had the camera. Until the freaky thing started to happen with the demon. That's it. That's it. Man wanted something to look back on after a fun night with his wife. And conveniently got talked out of it and instead used the camera to catch ghosts. What kind of plot is that? If anyone else did that plot, right? Like if you took that back to the 80s and you handed it off to someone who was not Craven or Carpenter or no, that's it. It's kind of just those two, right? Craven and Carpenter. Yeah, no, it's just those two. If you handed it off to anyone who wasn't those two filmmakers or one of the 13 separate people that did a Friday the 13th movie, like, you would get something so sleazy and just so bonkers, and it would not be perceived with this same sort of value that everyone wants to perceive the Paranormal Activity movies with, because they're not good, they're just new, you know? That's why everyone gives such flack, like, to everything that tried to do found footage, which is what Paranormal Activity, saying that so many times is so much more difficult than it has a right to be. But everyone who tried to do found footage after the Blair Witch Project kind of just got pooed on. And now there's like 3 individual movies that I can think of with found footage styles that like people talk about. There is Cloverfield, which is a masterpiece. I haven't seen the sequels. I know that only one of them is apparently good, but you know, that's just hearsay. I'll watch them one day. There was the Paranormal Activity movies, which I think is supposed to be getting a new one eventually. And then there was The Visit by M. Night Shyamalan, because everyone was so excited to see him return to something great after doing The Happening and The Village. Oh gosh, those movies. That's it. And so like the everything else that was within the vein of found footage, people just didn't like it. They were like, oh well, it is what it is. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's fine, whatever. You know, you do you. But like looking back on it, only some of them are good. Like Cloverfield is fantastic. I love Cloverfield, and I still want to watch the Blair Witch Project. But every time I see things from it, I get incredibly spooked. and then there's things like Paranormal Activity, and you just kind of look at it and you go, "Yep, that's found footage." And it can be executed greatly, right? Yeah, I guess this is the tangent, I guess, is found footage can be done well. Found footage can be executed like masterfully. There is no doubt about that. There are things out there like Creep. That's a real good one. I don't. I wasn't personally a fan of 14 cameras because I'm dumb and didn't know there was a movie before 14 cameras. But it's also in that same vein where it's not found footage, but like that style of camera stuff is like a part of the plot. It's a gross film. Don't watch that one. But yeah, no. And so no offense to James Wan and everyone else who deals with ghosts, but like they're just not scary. Man, they're not scary. And I think I'm going to blame 13 Ghost on that. And by that, I just mean I would like to mention real quick that 13 Ghosts had the God amongst men, that is Matthew Lillard, in their film, and then they killed him off like 20 minutes before the end of the movie. Not even. And I love that man. He's fantastic. My love for Scooby-Doo... Here we go. My love for Scooby-Doo knows no bounds, and it's because of Matthew Lillard as Shaggy and as... Oh my gosh, I blanked hard on her name, which goes to show who I talk about more often, who played Velma. I know she's currently over with the MCU, and she was also in Good Burger. That was a really weird cameo she popped up in, and I hope everyone hates the variety of movies that I've seen in my life, because it means you will not get anything coherent out of my mouth when it comes to a tangent like this. But Matthew Lillard was a great asset in this film about spooky ghost that you have to see with special glasses, which is probably the worst ploy I've ever heard. Can you imagine walking into that house? Like in real life. Being like, someone's like, oh yeah, this is a glass house and there are spooky ghosts trapped in the basement, and the only way you can see them is if you put on these special glasses. Otherwise, you can't see them, and they're locked up, so it's okay. It's okay. You can't see anything, but they're there. You got to put on the glasses. You have glasses? Oh, I'm sorry. They're not designed to go over your glasses. Yeah, though, that's the worst part about going to a theme park. What a transition. That's the worst part of going to a theme park. What are these thoughts, dude? Can you imagine if I was on a stage letting this stream of consciousness out of my mouth? Man, I'd get so much money. People would pay so much to see that. But that's the worst part of theme parks, is when you get on one of those like visual rides. Not a visual ride, but like it has a visual element that's supposed to be in 3D, and like they give you glasses for it. They're never designed to go over glasses. You would think as they keep, and this is at Universal, you would think if they keep putting in rides that require you to wear these glasses, that they would maybe, just maybe, think to themselves, oh, maybe we should make them larger to accommodate people who wear glasses. And now, obviously, you can't accommodate everyone. Like, if someone comes in with some rounded Harry Potter style glasses, no one's ever going to think to compensate for that shape when most glasses nowadays have become more square or rectangular. But they just need to be a little larger, okay? I'm not asking to be able to rest my glasses within that glasses frame, although that would be cool. I'm just saying that I would prefer to not have to tilt my head back to look slightly down, so that way I'm looking through both glasses at the same time and being able to see everything, right? I'm not someone with reading glasses, okay? People with reading glasses have it so easy. All right, they're in a whole separate tier from everyone else who wears glasses, and I wish they would understand that. Because they're like, no, I have glasses too, dude. I have glasses too. It's like, no, you have difficulty reading. I'm glad you can drive your car and not have a license that says, oh, this person needs to be wearing their glasses while they drive, and if they don't, please arrest them. Which, please wear your glasses while you drive. Oh my gosh, dude, there's so many people with glasses that just don't wear their glasses. Why? Why would you do that? You know what that does? it makes your eyesight worse. Because your eyes said for a split second, hey, this is nice. I can see. Everything's kind of crystal clear. And I think that's pretty good. And then you said, yeah, but these glasses don't go with my outfit. And then you took them off. And you put them in a bag. And they were like, hey, wait, hold on. And then your eyes were like, oh, dude, the world is blurry again. What's going on? What was this tangent? How did we get here? We went from Ghost to Matthew Lillard, right? And from Matthew Lillard to 13 Ghost. From 13 Ghost to just rides. And then from rides to the tangent about glasses. I'm so sorry. Let me backtrack a little. Because who am I complaining about? Complaining about Universal. I'll straight up. Complaining about Universal. Because they've put in so many rides that require you to wear these silly glasses over your glasses. Silly little glasses. They've put in so many rides that require you to wear glasses over your glasses, right? Because they've got King Kong, they've got the Fast and Furious Supercharged ride, they've got the Transformers ride, they've got the Spider-Man ride. There's another one that I'm blanking out on that requires you to wear the glass. Oh, The Simpsons. No. Yes? Yes. I think The Simpsons makes you wear glasses. Yeah, they do. You've got The Simpsons. There's so many rides that require these glasses over at Universal. I just hit my mic. I'm so sorry. Over at Universal, right? And they're not any good. And the glasses aren't good either. The glasses don't sit well on your face if you're not someone without glasses already. And that's stupid. We should be at a point now, however many years, where people have been wearing glasses, that we've been like, hey, maybe we should accommodate. But then also, make those rides better. They are all... Oh, the Spider-Man ride. Did I mention the Spider-Man ride? King Kong, Spider-Man ride, Fast and Furious, Transformers, Simpsons. I didn't mention the Spider-Man ride. The Spider-Man ride. All of those rides are exactly the same. And King Kong and the Fast and Furious 1 are the worst ones. Absolute trash, dude. You literally sit in a large bus and just slowly drive while things happen on screens that barely affect you. What? Dude, if I wanted to watch a simulator of pretending to be in a Fast and Furious movie, I would just go ask someone to show me footage of someone's like helmet cam while doing a race. Duh. That would be so much more enjoyable. But get in the slow moving bus and pretend to do things like jump and drive fast and drive fast. And hey, look, a dinosaur in King Kong. Also, I know, everything after the initial big statement has just kind of been just not garbage, but it's been something. Also, why did Universal open the King Kong ride? Right? Because the King Kong ride, here's my issue with it. The King Kong ride, it was in development, and I think it opened when I was in either 8th grade or my freshman year, right? So we're looking at like the mid of the 2010s, like as we start to enter the back half of the 2010s. And Kong Skull Island came out in 2017, right? That's not what the ride is based on. That is not at all what the ride is based on. The ride in Universal Studios, is based off of the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong, right? That is like 3 hours long. It's like Titanic length. How long is this one? Tell me the length. I'd like to know. Yeah, 3 hours and 21 minutes long. Dude, Who watched that movie? I didn't mean to hit this. Who watched that movie? 2005. You know what I was doing? I was being sent in for year 1 of 14 of schooling, dude. No one. I know plenty of people at the time watched that movie, and they touted it as being this masterful, epic tale of King Kong that left nothing out when it definitely should have. Obviously, I'm not an acclaimed filmmaker. All right, I am no Peter Jackson, but sometimes you don't need to leave everything in, and that is exactly what everyone is going to say about this podcast. Oh gosh, I burped. That was gross. I had lasagna for dinner. But like that ride is based on an IP that's not even owned by Universal anymore, because that's what clicked, right? It never even dawned on me. I was like, they don't own this. This is why it's based off the 2005 one, because that was when they had the rights. That's when they had the rights and made the movie, and they did their King Kong. Because Skull Island is Warner Brothers. That's why we had the big old schoolyard fight that was Godzilla versus Kong, or whatever it was titled. Yeah, because he's not King Kong, and he doesn't even get the chance to be called King Kong because he loses to Godzilla like a wimp, and I will die on that hill. and the ride is so boring. Because when is it set? I don't know when the 2005 film is set. I have to assume it's set at the same time as when the OG film was made, which is the 1930s. So you're watching all these people with their 1930s equipment and things face off with monsters and then see Baby Kong, essentially. He looks like a child. He looked so massively small compared to the most current, recent version of Kong. Dude, he doesn't even look like the full-sized Kong from King Kong, from the 2005 King Kong. He's so tiny. And I'm just like, wow. This is awful. It's a bad ride. I went with my sister, and she was like, yeah, I went on this ride, and it's terrible. And I was like, well, I've never been on it, and I want to be able to have my own opinion about going on it. And wow, this really birthed out of the tangent from the glasses. Dude, what is this? What is this podcast? This guy wants to be a comedian? Never let him on the stage. But I was like, no, I wanna have this chance to make my own opinion about the ride. And we get in the line, we get in the single rider, because I didn't know that they were gonna pack a bus with 50 people, meaning we were never gonna get separated. And as we just stood there, we were just as I got into the bus, right, the little bus, I was just kind of oh, what is happening? Because they just slow drove us around, and then they would occasionally stop us in front of a screen where a whole scene would take place, just a whole filmed scene. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then there was a point where I got squirted by a dinosaur, right? And it was the most surprising moment, and mainly because I didn't understand where it came from. King Kong was fighting a T-Rex, and I somehow got splashed with liquid? Doesn't make sense. And the only enjoyable moment of the entire thing, right, is when we get to the end of the ride, and they've got this big animatronic Kong, which looked larger than the tiny one that was in the videos. But they have this big animatronic Kong, and this kid next to my sister, he turns to his dad. He's like, Daddy, look, that's not a video. That's real. And that was the most enjoyable thing about the whole ride, was getting to witness that. And also my sister inching ever so slowly away from this child, because he is a child, and they are gross. Children are gross. that is not what I want to end this on. As I breach into 50 minutes. Oh no. But yeah, so then in the same day, right? In the same day, we go over and we check out the Fast and Furious ride because I also hadn't been on that because I don't have a life. If you couldn't tell, fun fact, I do gaming. I will never talk about that channel on this podcast outside of moments like this. Just an occasional little thing. I do gaming and I'm in college and now I'm trying to do a podcast, so I clearly don't have a life. But we checked out the Fast and Furious one and we got into that line and I was like, okay, we're walking around. This is kind of a boring line. You would think they'd have some more cool things. And then it starts. You get on another bus. And I was like, oh, there's a horrible theme to this. Because I don't know what it is that Universal's trying to do, but they're trying to get as many people through the line as they can. And I think it's not going well. Because a lot of the of lines for like rides that require you to wear glasses and they're more like visual like witness things types of rides, which is the worst way to say that. Like Spider-Man, that I forgot about earlier. And Simpsons, it's usually small groups. It's small groups, it's a small car, and because it's a smaller car, they can do more with it. Like they can pretend to do stuff like suspend you like they do with Spider-Man, or like for you to drive fast or feel like you're stuck when you're trying to reverse. Like those are all cool moments. But the Fast and Furious one had none of that because it's a big bus with like 50 people, and the amount of money that would go into the hydraulic system to work that bus in such a way that's cool just is very much capable, and they didn't want to do it. So we get on the bus and they're driving along and it's another sit and watch, and it's so boring because it's just like watching a movie. If I sat down in a movie theater and watched a film, right, and I watched a movie, it would be the same exact experience as sitting in the Fast and Furious supercharged ride. And I think that's terrible. And it didn't make sense. You want to know why it didn't make sense? Here, I'm going to tell you why. Fast and Furious Supercharged. When did it open? I have to burp again. It opened in 2018. Right? The one in my home state. It opened in 2018. Right? So the villain they had didn't make sense. Because he was already dead. By 2018, the villain of the ride, dude, he died 2 movies ago. He died 2 movies ago at this point. His brother is a bigger character in the films now. As a hero. What? Why is he the villain for this ride? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. He's the villain of the 6th movie. The 6th movie. Who died in the 7th movie. And his brother took over. And then his brother was a good guy for the 8th movie and the spin-off. Why is he the villain for this ride? That doesn't make any sense. Obviously we know everything's going to be okay. Because he's dead already. What kind of ride is this? There's no stakes. I was like, oh, this is going to be something like really cool with someone new. No. Villain who's already dead. What? Man, I would have rather taken just a tour through the movies. Change it to that, Universal. That's what I implore you to do. Change your Fast and Furious supercharged ride to just be a tour through the other Fast and Furious movies, okay? And then at the very end, there is a beautiful tribute to Paul Walker. And then every time we make another Fast and Furious movie, you just extend the length of the ride, right? Like you just leave an acre of land dedicated to continuously building onto this ride that is just a memory lane. Because clearly that's what the people want. And by the people, I mean me. I'm the people. But you have to do that. And if you do that, man, I'd ride that ride every day just to see what changes have been made. Just to see what they decided to choose to be the memory lane of going through what is now a 10 movie franchise. Because I do count Hobbs and Shaw, even though it's a spin off, made specifically to get Dwayne Johnson out of the room with Vin Diesel because they just hate each other. Which is so wild to think about. Dude, how could they both have such big egos to never get along? And you know that it's all on Vin. I could be wrong. Don't take me at my word. But like, Dwayne Johnson, man, the people love that man. There's no way he's the one doing wrong in this situation. But you know what? That's a whole other topic. I think this has been the most wild hour of variety. It's not an hour yet, but the most wild hour of variety that I've ever had just stream from my mouth because I forgot to write down all of my talking points for this first episode. And that's okay. Um, yeah, dude, just the world is wild. There's always going to be something to talk about, even when you think there isn't. Yeah, oh man, and there's things I'm now remembering that I wanted to bring up that I didn't. So I guess I'll do it next time, and I will write down those talking points. I swear, there's brain cells in my head doing things. And I know I'm not funny, but I'm going to pretend I am. And you will all just have to deal with it because you decided to continue to listen until 57 minutes. So, yeah, dude, I think that's what I'm going to call it. Thank you guys for listening to this madness. I hope you enjoyed. I definitely did enjoy just talking. It's nice to not be playing a game. It's nice to not be dealing with the world. It's good to just commentate sometimes, to just sit back and just look at what's happening and what has happened and all of the randomness that is Universal Studios not making rides. Well, I have to take that back. They do make rides. The Velocicoaster, scary. I went on it and I don't want to do it again. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening. I am afraid of what this episode is going to be titled, but that's just life. And hopefully you guys tune in next week. So yeah, peace. Have a great week.